knowledge also may be lost to us, in which case it will be indeed a great loss. This doubt is fully cleared here by an assertive, confident declaration that after regaining this knowledge, you shall, after regaining this knowledge, you shall not, O Pandava, again get deluded like this. This declaration, rather fanatical in style, has to be, for the time being, accepted by all seekers. All teachers unanimously declare that this idea, and since they have no particular reason to deceive their contemporaries, it is but intelligent that we should accept the truth of this declaration in good faith until we come to confirm it in our own personal experience.
So this is where the Shraddha comes. Krishna Bhagavan is giving that promise, is saying we have to have Shraddha that, yeah, and once we have our own experience, then we'll know. And then also another aspect of this whole thing is, it will come in chapter 6, where, Arjun will ask a question. Hey, if I'm going on this path and I'm not fully there yet, I have not got that knowledge, but I've done a lot of tapas and this and that, and I quit my body, do I have to start all over again? Krishna will say, no. Very quickly in your next janam, you will start from where what you have done. So whatever Miraji is saying that she has achieved in your next life, maybe you will not even have a next life, but in case you do, you will start from, you will already stop judging people from childhood only, and you will be more like, harmony with people and all that, because you've already done this sadhana here. So that's what another aspect of this thing is. Nothing goes waste.
No doubt, an immature child can never understand the physical thrills of the nuptial chamber, and thereby it cannot be said that the newlyweds are always telling lies. The little child has not matured enough even to feel sympathetically the thrills explained. Similarly, we living in delusion cannot understand the thrills of the transcendental. Our experience is eternal nature. However, vividly the teachers may explain until we also grow to the required inner maturity.
So that's again the Shraddha comes in, that we, even though we are not capable of understanding it fully, but it will, because we are not mature enough yet in our mind. So
by this rediscovery of the self, Krishna promises that the Pandava prince will thereafter be able to recognize the entire creation, constituted of the world of objects, emotions, and ideas, as nothing other than the self, which is his own real nature, which again is nothing other than me, Lord Krishna, the Paramatman,
Paramatman, yes.
Having once experienced and realized the ocean, all the waves are recognized by the intelligent eye as nothing but the ocean.
Or another way you can look at it, the entire thing is H2O. Whether it's the wave or the ocean and all that, isko tattva se janna. There are many different ways to approach that. And then you have heard these statements from India, Kan Kan mein Bhagwan. All that is what it's an expression of this only. There's oneness, or what is that famous Ramayana ka thing, Miraji? Ramamay Jani something. Pura sansar Rammay hai. I don't know the Avdi language of it. Siya Ram var sab jag jani. Siya Ram var sab jag jani. Exactly that same concept he's talking about.
In this stanza, the tests of having realized that knowledge discussed in previous stanzas are given. It also indicates how long we must hold on to the apron strings of a true Guru. As long as we have not realized that, the whole creation is nothing but our own self, which is as divine and omnipotent as the Lord of Dwarka himself. So long we cannot afford to leave our intimate relationships and complete dependence upon the preceptor and guide the guru.
So we discussed that, that until then you need the guru until you have the final experience, so whatever studies, anything that you're doing, any sadhana that you're doing is basically telling you not to drop that sadhana until you to reach that. And recently I started watching Sai Baba on Hotstar. I don't know if any one of you have watched it, the series शिरडी वाले साई बाबा आपने देखा? अच्छा,
Yeah, I have seen.
yeah, pretty very nice one. And in that, they are showing his character is, I mean, so divine that there were people who were like against him and they would say bad things, and one time they came to throw stones at him too, and he was standing very shant. So the other two boys, who are like boy and a girl, who are like teenagers, and he's very fond of them, one of them calls him bhaiya and all that. And they said, but आपको कैसे गुस्सा क्यों नहीं आता है, मतलब वो लोग इतना look at them what they are doing. So the analogy he gave was so beautiful. He told them, because they understand children's language, right? So he said कि अगर तुमको किसी पेड़ से फल चाहिए तो तुम क्या करते हो? तो बोले पत्थर उठा के फेंकते हम लोग पेड़ की ओर. क्या पेड़ तुमको पत्थर फेंकता है? इतना sweetly he says, I say, oh no, that doesn't happen. Say ऐसा ही कुछ है. So but he's like a tree. Okay, so come and take whatever, I'm ready to give. But if you are going to be mean to me, I'm not going to go be mean to you back, I thought that analogy was so beautiful. So that's what is that knowledge does to somebody, that how they perceive the world, how they perceive themselves is totally complete shift, So anyway, any comment, question? Want to add anything?
Yeah. I was listening to Swami Nikhilananda this morning, and he explained how the vasanas are what we have learned, how it transposes to the next life. And he says, think of yourself as a computer. In computer, you store so many things, your memories or whatever you learned, you store it in there. And you can access that also in the cyberspace.
Yeah.
Supposing your computer goes out, it's totally destroyed. What happens? You can still access the same thing from your, what you call, in the cloud or in the cyberspace. Similarly, your vasanas also, means you die, is like a computer, you die. But your vasanas are still stored somewhere like in cyberspace, and they get transposed. I thought that was a very good way of explaining that.
Yes. True, very good. That we all can understand now because it is happening. True. Nice.
And Kiraji said that she has started thinking that way. I think that's the biggest thing you can have. If you can really are doing that, I think you have excelled in more than anybody else.
No, I'm still working on it, but that shift I feel every time, that like Uma ji की बात याद आ जाती है कि जो सिखाती है ये. So and then to continue what you just said, Sushil ji, मुझे ये लगता है कि जितना हम लोग आजकल के ज़माने में मॉडर्न होते जाते हैं और डिसबिलीफ बढ़ता जा रहा है एक तरीके से सोसाइटी में टुवर्ड्स ऑल दीज थिंग्स, तो साइंस उतनी तरक्की करके ऐसे एग्जाम्पल्स हमको देती जा रही है जो कि आप 100 साल पहले तो कह ही नहीं सकते थे कंप्यूटर की हार्ड ड्राइव और आई क्लाउड में आपका क्या स्टोर्ड है. लेकिन तब लोगों को वैसे ही विश्वास या श्रद्धा ज्यादा थी. आजकल लोगों को नहीं है, तो देखो भगवान ऐसी ऐसी चीजें बना रहा है कि वी कैन नाउ गिव दोज एग्जाम्पल्स and the whole point becomes more clear. So I really like the example you gave, Sushil ji.
Thank you. No, I just saw that heard this morning, and I thought I'll share that one way or the other, but it came up today just in the right way. So yeah.
Very good, very nice. Yeah. Anyone else? Is anything to add?
I wanted to add along the same line. When you trigger this event for becoming spiritual, you get the iCloud of the spirituality, which is Akashic records available to you. So all these things start happening to you without your trying. So it works both ways.
Yeah.
Your vasanas go also, the good thing is available to you.
Yeah. And a lot of people, once they start doing certain kind of sadhana and all that, they remember their previous lives also. They may not talk about it. And it's a very famous story about Buddha Bhagwan, that after he got enlightened, he remembered his 100 lives that preceded and all that.
Yeah.
So, but your mind has to become ready to accept. अदरवाइज हमारे जैसे लोग एक तो फैमिली संभलती नहीं है, और अगर 100 और पीछे आ जाए कौन कौन है, पागल ही हो जाएंगे हम लोग. You have to be mentally ready for it. But everything is all these swamis who are like in advance, they tell you that they can pretty much, not everybody talks about it, but they have access to a lot of things that we cannot even dream about. They do. Okay. Yes. Oh, I thought Asha ji wanted to say something. Did you? No? Okay. So shall I close the Gita class and we can go to not Mandukya, I'm still Kathoupanishad. Okay. What do I do here? I do the last verse, not verse 66. सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं ता सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम. Stop the recording. Om सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः. ओम शांति शांति शांतिः. हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम. So we are at verse 15 that we're going to start of Valli 2, whoever has the book. Okay, so just to have the connection, let's see the verse 14 was Nachiketa's question, that please tell me what you see. I don't want to hear about Shastras. I want to see the direct experience from you. And please tell me about that which is other than dharma, adharma was one, and cause and effect was the next one, and past and future, or kalatit. Those, please tell me that. So that's where we were, and we discussed in detail about everything. And then we go to the next one. So now Dharmaraj or Yamraj answers him. So let's see what he says. Verse 15. Sarve Veda Yat Padam Amananti Tapamsi Sarvani Cha Yad Vadanti Yadi Chanto Brahmacharyam Charanti Tad Te Padam Sangrahena Bravimi Om Iti Etat. So Sarve is all, Veda is Veda, मतलब अपना Upanishad mainly यहाँ पर बोला गया है. Yat is which, Padam. This is a very loaded word, just like sometimes you have this word. And it's called the goal. And here Swamiji is going to explain that in Sanskrit there are 22 meanings, he said, of this word. Padam. So it's a very, but उसका context सही होना चाहिए. और ये context ये है कि एक पद, जब होता है राष्ट्रपति पद किसी को मिला, इंद्र पद मिला, तो एक पोजीशन. लेकिन यहाँ पर वो ब्रह्म पद की बात कर रहे हैं, द अल्टीमेट, जो भगवत गीता में जो नॉलेज बोल रहे थे ना, उसी की बात कर रहे हैं. टू गेट दैट फाइनल गोल जिसको बोलेंगे. आमनंती इज प्रोक्लेम. तपांसी acts of penance. Sarvani all. Cha is also. Yat which. Vadanti is declare. Yat is which. Ichchantaha, wishing for. Brahmacharyam, life of brahmacharya. And we're going to go in detail what it actually means. Self-controlled life devoted to knowledge of austerity. Charanti is lead. Tat is that. Te is your. Padam is goal. Sangrahena, briefly. I'm going to talk briefly about it, he's saying. Bravimi, I will tell. Om is that we did that's why the Mandukya Upanishad was on my this thing, because he talked about Om, and we have done the entire Upanishad on Om for a couple of years. We did it. Some of you were part of that journey. Iti is thus, etat, it is. So what is he talking about over here? So he's talking about that. So first we know that Nachiket asked that question because उसके आंसर में उन्होंने उसको ये बोला कि भाई धर्म अधर्म कॉज इफेक्ट और पास्ट फ्यूचर से परे जो है उसके बारे में मुझे बताओ, what you directly see. So now Yamraj is saying, okay, here you are, I'm going to tell you. Okay, so he's saying that goal that to be reached means all of us, what is that goal is the same thing what Bhagavad Gita talks about, that knowledge. That is that goal. उस गोल को में पहुंचने के लिए उस पद, और यहाँ पर वो पद का लाइक आउट ऑफ 22 मीनिंग्स, दैट्स द मीनिंग इज द करेक्ट वन. इसको फाइनल गोल बोल दो. बट और पद की तरफ से देखे तो, एक पोजीशन की तरफ से देखे तो ब्रह्म पद, ब्रह्मन पद. सो Shankaracharya ji, it seems, said, this is, when I heard Teja Manage's commentary, he gave few points. He's saying कि जो ब्रह्म पद है ना, highest one, उसमें बैठ जाओ ना, nobody can vacate it. बाकी जितने भी पद तुमको मिलेंगे ना, vacate करने पड़ेंगे. I thought he said it so nicely. मतलब कुर्सी खाली करनी पड़ेगी दुनिया में, कुछ भी मिल जाए तुमको. And there is one very beautiful दृष्टांत, about this. कि भाई एक ग्रैंडमा बस में चढ़ी टिकट लेके, लेकिन ना वो अपनी सीट पे नहीं बैठी बेचारी, because she was like a little older and she didn't realize which seat was hers, so she sat at one place. तो थोड़ी देर में कोई और आके बोला, अरे माता जी आप मेरी जगह पे बैठे, उठो यहाँ से. वो बेचारी उठी, फिर कहीं और जाके बैठ गई, फिर वहाँ से भी उसको उठाया. फाइनली the bus driver came and said, नहीं, oh, you sit on your own seat, फिर आपको कोई नहीं उठाएगा. So then she sat on her own seat and then she was comfortably did the journey. So what this Swami was saying, this in this Drishtant, ब्रह्म पर अपने आत्मा के सीट पे बैठ जाओ ना, nobody can kick you out. बाकी तुम दूसरे कभी बच्चों की सीट पे जाके बैठते हो, कभी grandson की, कभी you will get kicked out sooner or later. They were talking more from the attachment perspective that don't get it, you will be kicked out. So that's what he's talking about, the Brahma Pad ki ek baar. That's the goal that he's talking about over here. And then what is that goal? All the Vedas talk about it. So Tejomana ji explained that Vedas mein karma kand hai, upasana kand hai, and jnana kand hai. Jnana kand is all Upanishad. So Upanishad ka jo सार है ना, that is to get to that goal, is to get that Brahmapad or Brahman. So जितने भी Vedas proclaim that ये करो, और Bhagavad Gita is the sar of all the Upanishad. That's the knowledge he's talking about when we talk about. So that is the goal that to reach, and all the Upanishad proclaim the exactly same thing. Basically, whatever Nachiketa was asking, that's what the Upanishad also trying to take you to that place. And then I am going to tell you that briefly. So Swamiji is going to say, when they वैसे ही brief होता है, okay? Upanishad is वैसे ही brief है, तभी उसको सूत्र बोलते हैं. Like, you can open it up. It's like a little simple thread, but vast inside it. बट यहाँ पर वो खुद बोल रहे हैं कि मैं ब्रीफली बोल रहा हूँ, तो कितना शॉर्ट होएगा. एंड ही सेज दैट बेसिकली ही सेज इन दिस वर्स इज दैट गोल इज ओम. Om is such a simple, sweet looking word, but whoever has done Mandukya, we know. वो 12 श्लोक को समझाने के लिए इतनी मोटी किताब उन्होंने बनाई, like so much, because they just one word and there is a whole chapter behind it, or a couple chapters behind it, So just keep that in mind, that when he said Om is, he's talking about like a symbol. That's all it is. But उसको इसलिए इतना importance दिया गया है because that Om can take you. It is a representation of the Saguna Brahma as well as Nirguna Brahma. So if somebody wants to do the Aradhana of the Saguna, also can use Om. and the goal also you can reach, because when we did, remember we used to chant Om, when we used to meet in person. So when we chanted, we learned that we have to say Om once complete, and then have a silence, and then go to the next Om. And that silence is a very important, because that's the Turiya state they talked about, that Brahman state. So Om has both aspect to it, that silence aspect as well as the sound, and there is so much to it, and he's going to open it up a little bit more, but just wanted to give you a little idea about it. So I kind of jumped the gun a little bit, and I told you about Om, but उसके पहले उन्होंने कहा कि जो सारी वेदास और या उपनिषद का जो गोल है वो, और जिस गोल की वजह से लोग ब्रह्मचर्य व्रत धारण करके और सारे तपस करते हैं. ओके, सो यहाँ पर वो ब्रह्मचर्य का अर्थ थोड़ा सा समझाना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज अपने को बहुत कंफ्यूजन है उसके बारे में. बट बिफोर दैट वी सॉ दैट 12 yagnas that Krishna Bhagavan talked about, that was tip of the iceberg, right? And we know that in the world people do so many different kinds of tapas. वो सबका गोल भी वही है, वो मैं तुमको बताने जा रहा हूँ, जिसकी वजह से सारे लोग तपस करते हैं अलग अलग किस्म के, to purify their mind. So we know that we do at physical level, at mental level, speech level, all of that we have studied in Bhagavad Gita doing. उस सबका गोल वही है जो मैं तुम्हें बताने जा रहा हूँ. And because we know the purpose of austerity is what? To know the truth. Not just, to physically get strong and do this and all. Those are all sidey things. So now the word brahmacharya. So Tejo Mayananji said, there are some, in the spirituality, there are certain words that create a lot of reaction and scare among people. And he said, what are those words? Tapas, penance, austerity, sacrifice, So घबरा जाते हैं, क्या? What do you want me to sacrifice, And brahmacharya. Because they're always associated with celibacy. And he's saying that when people are young and the attraction between men and women is so strong, तो बोलते हैं, oh my God, अगर brahmacharya से ही भगवान मिलने वाले तो नहीं चाहिए. They get really scared. So he's saying that don't misunderstand. That's not what it means. And then he explained that where that celibacy thing was coming from. It is just one small aspect of it. That's all it is. And for certain people who are in that, student life, unke liye unhone wo paal liya. But if somebody is a grahastha, they don't have to be. But what brahmacharya actually means is, in Sanskrit language, brahmana charati iti brahmacharya means the one who wants, that is the goal for that person, or the one who revels in it. The one who has a great longing for that Brahman, usko bolte hain, because brahmacharya vrat means koi brahmachari le raha hai, but hum log brahmachari word associate with, some unmarried guys, brahmachari we call it. So Tejo Manji was joking. He was saying the guy may be unmarried because nobody wants to marry him. Nothing to do with brahmacharya. So don't associate that with some single fellow as brahmachari. No. The way it came was that these students, they went to the Gurukul, and then they want to study this. And to study this, you need purity of mind, you need sense control. So it comes under the sense control at, physical level, mental level, all that is, usme was one part for that period of time. That's why it's called brahmacharya. But otherwise it means the one who revels in Brahman, or who has a longing for Brahman. And that could be anybody, he said. It could be a householder, it could be an old person, it can be a young person, gruhastha, vanpra, sannyasi, any ashram it could be. Because there are, and then he also gave example, we already know Nachiketa was such a young fellow. And he wants this knowledge. And then there are people who are teenagers, like Ram Bhagwan got this, he's a Bhagwan, but he had to give the example, right, as a human being. He himself never called me Bhagwan. Hamesha bolte the, main to insaan hi hu. When he was a teenager, he got the knowledge. And there are a lot of kings, who later on in their life, they gave up the kingdom. And they said, now I want this knowledge. Just take this all, give it to the son or whoever, the throne, and then they left. So it can happen at any time. And you don't have to even give up anything physically. It is mental level attachment you can have, and you can be in your own home and get this too. So whichever way. So he's saying that if somebody is too engrossed or too attached to the world, this Brahma Vidya is not going to be attractive to them at all. Okay, so थोड़ा detachment होना पड़ता है इसके लिए. And once you get attracted to this, then you can't leave it. You will want this, somehow you will come back to it, because you will feel something is missing. And at one point, you said that you will be willing to do anything to get this. You will do the Guru Seva, you will do the Shastra Adhyan, Tapas, everything you are ready to do. But to me, when Tejomayanji was saying that, it automatically starts happening in you. You don't even feel like you are sacrificing something and all that, When you really want to do something, it does not feel like a sacrifice. You guys agree? And that new experience I have is with my grandson, that, my daughter-in-law and my son are so thankful that I go and spend the night, And I said, I don't even feel like, I'm sacrificing my sleep, this, that. I'm joyfully doing it. Because, I get to be with my grandson. So that's how it is. So when it comes naturally, it doesn't feel like any kind of punishment or anything ever. So in a spiritual thing, it's the same thing, So, and then when he said that I'm going to tell you briefly, it is Om. And then Tejomayanji mentioned Mandukya Upanishad in his lecture. And he said that there were two other Upanishads that talk about Om. Taittiriya Upanishad and Prashna Upanishad also talks about Om. And that's where they elaborate more what it is. But he said that it is a very like a famous, well-known, popular, so but we will go a little more in detail about it, And there is another word for it, and I don't know if you have heard it. It's called Pranav. You've heard the word Pranav? Om ko Pranav bhi bolte hain. And he's going to explain it in the next verse, so we will see what it means. And the same verse comes in Bhagavad Gita also. And if we have time, we will see. It is chapter 8, verse 11. The second part of it is literally the verbatim in there. Krishna Bhagavan said to Arjuna. So with that, anybody has any question, comment, add anything? Okay, so we can go to the verse, read the commentary. Who's the volunteer to read? Shireen?
Yama said, the goal word which all the Vedas declare of praise, which all penances proclaim, and wishing for which they lead the life of brahmacharyan, that goal word I will briefly tell thee, it is Om.
So everybody got the picture? That, he's just saying that I'll tell you that goal and it is Om. And unhone khud bola ki I'm briefly telling you. So there's a lot of elaboration up in that. Okay, go ahead.
Here the preceptor with this stanza starts his famous discourse, which is the very core of this Upanishad. To begin with, Lord Death, in brief, summarizes all that he has to say upon that which is beyond dharma and adharma, which is other than the cause and effect, and which is something different from the past and the future. Upanishad itself confirms to a style wherein a redundant alphabet is considered to be colossal sin. And in such a brief literature noted for superhuman brevity, for maintaining which at places even language has been sometimes sacrificed, we are surely heading to some insurmountable difficulty when Lord Death himself warns that he is going to be deliberately brief.
So he's just explaining. I know Swamiji uses a very flowery, difficult language, hi-fi. Basically, he's saying कि पहले ही उपनिषद बड़े short होते हैं. उसमें कोई extra alphabet, it's almost like a sin to have. Means, it is so brief. ऊपर से वो खुद ही बोल रहे हैं कि brief है. And suppose if somebody has not understood, we are lucky in our class. Most of you were there at Mandukya time, so you saw, you kind of know it. किसी एकदम नए आदमी को बोलो जिसने कुछ शास्त्र ज्यादा पढ़ा नहीं है कि द एंटायर गोल इज ओम करके शांत हो जाओ, तो वो इतना कंफ्यूज हो जाएगा ना. हाउ कैन दैट बी, ओम. So he's just saying that, just have patience. Okay, it's going to be,
The word padam, though it looks so small, has an accepted volume of meaning over which even a textbook can be written. There are something like 22 meanings for this two-lettered, innocent-looking word such as way, place, abode, state, footstep, footprints, sign, word, a goal, and so on.
So see, हिंदी में जिनको हिंदी आती है ना, पद पाँव को भी बोलते हैं, राइट? फुटप्रिंट्स, पद किसी उसको भी बोलते हैं, किसी का कोई पद हो जैसे कि राष्ट्रपति का पद, like that we say. गोल को भी बोलते हैं. So he's just saying कि besides om, the word pad also has 22 meanings. So there are so many power-packed stuff in just a little shloka,
All the Vedas, meaning all the Upanishads, though they argue differently, point out to the same goal of truth. The 108 Upanishads may be considered as so many arrow marks along the circumference of the same circle, all of them pointing out to the same center. Just as in such a case, geometrically, no two arrows on the circumference can be parallel. So too, no two approaches belonging to two different Upanishads run parallel. And yet, all of them, when produced, meet at one and the same point, the center, the truth. Thus, the goal that is pointed out by all the Upanishads, say Lord Death, is the factor that you are asking me now, and that factor is, in brief, indicated by the pregnant symbol Om.
So here, very, very nicely he explained that there are 108 Upanishads, sabka approach slightly different hai. And as we study different Upanishads, you will see that now we are in the second one. We already did Mandukya. They took one approach. Here is taking another approach, but they all are going to the same thing.
Directions.
Yeah, but another important thing that even bolte na ki there could be so many different ways to reach the same truth. So then again that tolerance part come. Don't get fanatic about your own method because somebody else's method can be totally legitimate. You may not connect with it. So that's totally fine. So that's why we also don't insist. You just say these are things, and let people choose what they want to do. But main thing is telling you, does not matter which way you are going, that final goal I will tell you about that, and that is symbolizing Om. And Om is a symbol. So the best way I can think of is a flag. When we take a flag of America, the moment we may be in somewhere far away, Africa or India or somewhere, the moment we see the American flag, हमको पूरा अमेरिका याद आ जाता है. So they have taken a vast thing and made one, and it's a very scientific symbol, as we have studied in, उसका कितना, उसके sound में भी science है, उसके बोलने भी sound है, उसके 3 letters में भी science है, सब कुछ है. So they have come up with this clever symbol. So these Rishi Munis, when they utter Om, they are thinking of that Brahman. That's what it is. उनके एक word से उनका पूरा वो feeling आ जाती है. So that's what it is.
All tapascharya, all severe and conscious practices of self-control are pursued, and long years of studies are undertaken by living with a teacher. A life of service, surrender, and devotion by seekers only to realize this truth, which you are asking for, which in brief is indicated by the symbol Om. A close echo of this immortal stanza is heard in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and it is also noteworthy that in the Gita we have the second half of this mantra repeated substantially.
So I looked up and it was like same. It was amazing. That's why they know a lot of things are taken from Kathoupanishad by Krishna Bhagwan directly verbatim. And the other thing I was going to tell you is that how the journey is coming together now with whatever we are studying in Bhagavad Gita. We see the reflection of it right now here. Look at this. Service, surrender, and devotion to the teacher. That's how you get this. And we got the whole lecture on that about it. So this is how you get it. So I thought it was just amazing that every time is happening now.
The reality is hinted at by the significance of the symbol Om. But thereby we shall not say that Om defines truth, for to define truth is to defy it. In the technique of self-perfection, as conceived by the rishis of the Upanishads, the symbol Om is at once a formula indicating the goal and a pratika,
Pratik, like we Hindi mein bolte na.
Brahman, for purposes of worship, and saguna, with form meditation.
There was another line in my book. You don't have it?
No.
Okay. However, it is also interesting to note that the word Om is not found in the Rig Veda or Atharvaveda, but occurs in the Taittiriya Samhita of Yajurveda. Okay. So here it's telling you that Om is used for Sagun as well as Nirguna Upasana, because some people like Saguna means with form. So you can use the Om, and it is at once the path and the goal. Because if you do it correctly, the Om sadhana, the way Mandukya has mentioned, it will slide you into that Turiya state. It's the same thing like Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Like I always say, don't put it in a box, each one. Because if you do Karma Yoga correctly, it will slide you into Jnana Yoga. So that's how it is, that the Om sadhana, firstly it is symbol that you have to understand, that when you talk about Brahman, they have taken the entire Brahman and they have made it into this symbol, and then they slowly open it up. And if you do it correctly, the Om sadhana, it can take you to that highest knowledge. That's what it is. So we will, we have 5 minutes. So if anybody has any question, comment, or want to add anything about either one.
So just to understand it again, basically Nachiketa has rejected everything that death had to offer him, and he insisted that he only wanted one thing from death, and that was the answer to his question that he asked in the previous verse, correct?
Yeah,
And
he wants
then in answer to that question is, tell me what you see and not what is written in the Shastras and everything else. So tell me that. And in response to that question, Yam has said that the goal is to reach Om.
True.
So in summary then, basically what we have studied in Kathoupanishad so far is that Nachiketa goes to death, and his question is, tell me what you see, and which is the truth, and don't tell me what I can read in Shastras.
Yeah, but wait. There is a history behind it. So पहले जब उन्होंने एक प्रश्न पूछा था ना, तो वो प्रश्न था, tell me that मैंने सुना है, ऐसे प्रश्न पूछा उसने, मैंने सुना है कि कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि मरने के बाद भी कुछ रहता है. तो he was doubtful, कुछ है भी या नहीं है. ओके, फिर यमराज जी ने उसको डायरेक्ट आंसर नहीं दिया. यमराज जी ने उसको कई बातें बोली, उसको प्रेज किया, ये किया, वो किया, और उसको डिफरेंट ज्ञान देते गए. उससे वो रिफाइन हो गया उसका थिंकिंग. अब जब वो प्रश्न पूछ रहा है ना, तो 2 things have happened. One is he is absolutely sure there is something, and वो समझ गया है कि जो भी वो चीज है वो कॉज इफेक्ट टाइम के परे है, कॉज इफेक्ट के परे है, धर्म अधर्म के परे है. पहले उसको नहीं मालूम था ये, नंबर 1. एंड व्हाई ही सेइंग द शास्त्र मुझे मत बताओ, वो ऑलरेडी जानता है शास्त्र. लेकिन उसको फाइनल एक्सपीरियंस नहीं हुआ है. तो ही इज नॉट अंडरमाइनिंग द शास्त्रा. ही जस्ट सेइंग I have found a teacher who is a Shotriya and Brahmanishta, who is the Jnanina and Tattvadarshina. जो तत्वदर्शिना आपने जो खुद देखा है, because जब it's somebody like Sadguru and all that, they got the experience, but I have heard him say that he has not read many shastras, but we still want to listen to him because he has a direct experience. तो वो शास्त्र की जो उसने पढ़ लिया उससे उसको फाइनल एक्सपीरियंस नहीं हुआ नचिकेता को. तो अब वो गुरु के पास गया है और बोल रहा है अब मुझे ना आप अपने ढंग से समझाओ. For clarity purpose, I'm telling you that he's not saying that from that perspective Shastra, because I don't believe in Shastra. That's not what he's saying. He's just saying Shastra तो पढ़ लिया मैंने, अब मैं जानना चाहता हूँ आपसे. Does that make it clear?
Right. Yeah. Thank you. That makes it clear. Yeah.
Anything else?
Umaji, one thing, let's talk about what the soul is, what are the soul's qualities, where how suksham it is, and all those things.
Oh yeah, अभी तो शुरू हुआ, अभी तो एकदम he's going to talk very much in detail everything.
And where it resides, not in the formal heart center, but not in the physical heart center, but it's called the heart.
मीना जी आपको कुछ प्रश्न था?
Yeah, I was just wondering, to start off with, very start, when he asked the question, before that, when he talked to his father, Nachiketa, he was trying to see what father was doing. So at that point, even then, didn't he have some knowledge or some idea of a life after?
He did. Because it's like us. हम लोग को शुरू में अभी ज़्यादा इसमें faith हो गया है. I remember that when I joined, Chinmaya Mission, even I had a doubt, भगवान है भी या नहीं है. हमने सब कुछ पढ़ा है, बोलते हैं, सुना है, and all that, but those doubts are kind of natural, and as you go deeper, it becomes stronger and stronger. So they are showing Nachiketa's journey also. Yeah, he definitely knew. He was very much advanced.
When he asked the question, even before that,
yes, he was.
He knew, he had some idea, let's put it that way.
He had some idea. No doubt about it. He had some idea, but see the difference between that state and now that when he asked the question. He's like,
yes.
His Shraddha has totally taken a leap.
Right.
He has no doubt anymore.
Yes.
Like हम लोग हमारी क्लास में हम लोग we did the study group for 30 years. So after about 10-15 years, like हम लोग मजाक करते थे, कोई हमको नींद में से भी उठा के बोलेगा ना भगवान है या नहीं है, like इतना विश्वास तो हो गया है. पहले लगता था I don't know what they are saying, कौन भगवान क्या है, you just have no idea, so that's what it is.
And then you talked about pranava or something.
Pranav, yeah.
Prana. Is that okay, if you want to explain that, because...
Okay, Pranav is another name for Om. जैसे किसी बोलते हैं ना कि भगवान ने भी बोला है कि कहीं, I don't remember which, lot of Upanishad use Om के लिए Pranav. So when they say the word Pranav, it is Om. And it is coming from some Nu Dhatu, and I think that when I do the next verse, Tejomayananji is going to explain where it is coming from, that word. But it's just a symbol that they created for that Brahman. And then whoever has done Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 15, Krishna Bhagwan does a pictorial graph of the whole universe, like a tree. And he says the whole universe is like a tree, and then he explains, the different aspects. ऐसे ही समझ लो Om. Om is a symbol which represents this Brahman, infinite.
Yes.
So then, but Swamiji warned that anytime describing a concept, with like truth defined is truth defiled. You cannot do it. But this is as close as it can come. It's something like a flag, okay? I cannot say that the flag is America, because America is so much more. But जितना भी मैं जानती हूँ उसके बारे में, वो सारी फीलिंग्स आ जाती है फ्लैग देख के. या इंडिया का फ्लैग, हम लोग दोनों कंट्री से जुड़े हुए हैं, और इंडिया के फ्लैग के बारे में तो हम लोग ने बचपन से इतना सुना है तो वी नो द डिफरेंट कलर्स एंड व्हाट इट स्टैंड्स फॉर, ये है वो है, फ्लैग देखते ही उसके लिए रिस्पेक्ट आ जाता है ना. So this is like and like our teacher used to say that we are still in the body, we still want symbol, and दूसरे जो religion है वो कितना भी बोले कि they don't care about symbol, they do. सारा टाइम तो वो लोग ऐसे ऐसे करते रहते हैं क्रॉस के लिए. चर्च में चले जाओ तो सबसे पहले वो क्रॉस ही दिखाई देता है. And the Muslim might say, oh, we don't believe in symbol. वो लोग भी हमेशा वो लोग मक्का की तरफ झुकेंगे. Symbolic हो गया कि नहीं? So our mind needs something. So that's why these rishis and munis came up with it. But the Om is like such a power-packed symbol कि उसका उच्चारण करने से ही प्योरीफाई होना शुरू हो जाता है, because the sound vibrations. Ma, and all that. So it is like something, not an ordinary symbol. That's what I was going to say.
Also, isn't it, all our mantras and every one of them starts with Om first.
There you go. Yes. And then there are 3 things that it's going to come in chapter 17. Om Tat Sat.
Yes,
Om,
that's beautiful.
yeah. Om, and then it's going to, when we go to that chapter, then it will talk. And before starting any work, they say Om Tat Sat.
Om, yes.
So then it will
afterwards.
Before, after.
Yeah.
Because
if anything went wrong, it's
yes,
Om Tat will take care of.
You can say Om Tat Sat anytime. You know.